Welcome to Do It in Durham, our 11th year celebrating entrepreneurship. It's held each November during Global Entrepreneurship Week, which this year, 2023, it's November 13th to the 17th. Do It in Durham Entrepreneurship Week is a collaboration of Durham's business support, educational, and networking organizations who have come together to encourage and support entrepreneurs, job creators, and innovators like you who create economic growth in Durham Region. If you're looking to start a business, invest in a business, grow a business, we encourage you to do it in Durham, the Durham Region. Thank you to our amazing sponsors. Without their support and contribution, we could not host this week. And thank you also to our incredible speakers like Tim. Take it away, Tim.
Thanks, Patrice, and welcome, friends. Good morning. Thank you so much for getting up and chatting with me about social media at 9 o'clock on a Friday morning. We're going to make this fun. We are going to talk about getting sales from social media. Before I move off the slide, though, I do have a really big favor and a really big ask I want to make. If you can put in the chat your business. Also, hey, it's a great way to get your name out there, but this way I can tailor my examples to who's in the room today. I know a couple folks like Catherine, who does organizing. I know Brent Boy, who blogs, but I would love to know the other businesses in the room so I can tailor the examples and make it just a little bit better there. So I'm already seeing cosmetics. Thank you, Alyssa. But we are going to be chatting, how do you actually get sales from social media? It's not rocket science. It's actually not terribly complicated, but we're going to break down parts of it. So we're going to talk about parts of the sales process. We're going to talk content and engagement strategies. We're going to talk different types of sales, hard sells, soft sells, lead magnets. And then we're going to talk about measurement. As much as I'm like a generalist in digital marketing, I nerd out about data and I love to talk about data. So we're going to incorporate that. And then we're going to have a dedicated time for questions and answers at the end. We will have time for questions throughout. And I will be watching the chat, and Patrice will also be watching the chat, but we'll have a dedicated time at the end. Sorry, I'm just checking the companies coming in here. Marketing, hey, fellow marketers, HR consulting, ceramics. If you want to talk about teaching, let's talk, because I might have some leads for you. So, okay. After today, here's what you can hold me accountable to. Here are my goals. I want you to know parts of the sales process for social media. I want you to understand the role and to work through the role of content and engagement, because it's not just all about posting. I want you to think about times that you might go for the hard sell and that you might go for the soft sell. And I would love for you to be able to, at the end of today, name a go-to measurement strategy. So if you had to measure your sales, knowing kind of how you would are my goals there. So my name is Tim Campbell-Smith. The big thing I want to highlight here is my pronouns are he, him whenever referring to me, and please feel free to put your pronouns on your display name or put it in the chat. The downside with Zoom like this is you can't tell how heavily tattooed I am, but I'm a tattoo enthusiast, vegetarian, I'm an avid traveler. My next trip is to Chicago. And when it comes to social media, I love Pinterest. If anybody else here loves Pinterest, let me know. I love Pinterest. So before we get too started, or before we get too far, I want to start with just a quick benchmark as well. So I kind of get a feeling in the room for where we're at. How do you feel about, or what thoughts come to mind when we discuss just sales and social media? When you think about selling through social media, what comes to mind for you? How do you feel about it? What are your immediate thoughts? Just so I kind of have a temperature of the room. Okay, so I'm seeing Bloom Tool, custom website design. Ooh, hey, there's some marketers in the room today. Okay, so it's a lot of work. How to target? Yeah, getting overwhelmed, and it's confusing. Boring ads. Ooh. Apathy is the enemy of marketing. Boring ads are the worst. Yeah. Here we go. With Instagram, yeah. And it is interesting how some platforms we find easier than others. And I'm going to give you a hint, they're all the same. We should approach them the same way for the most part. Overwhelming, time consuming, yeah. No idea what we're doing. That's fair. And let me give you a hint. As if you have no products, if you think you have no products, if you think you have no services, then you're selling yourself. And we can certainly unpack that throughout today. So, okay, thank you. This helps kind of give me a benchmark and a feeling for where we're at, sorry. So let's start with some foundational parts of selling through social media, what this really entails and what this really could look like. Rule number one, and as a consultant, my thought is always start with the obvious. There has to be a reason to buy from you. Sometimes we overlook that, but there has to be a reason to buy from you. Make sure your product or service is something people actually want, that actually meets a want, a need, a problem, or a nuisance. Those are the four reasons why we buy: want, need, problem, nuisance. And if you can, find out how that actually impacts that person's daily life. To use some examples out of the businesses here today, organizing isn't just organizing. It's clutter. And clutter isn't just clutter either. It's a sense of calm in our own homes where we live, right? Marketing automation isn't just marketing automation. It's making things go in your sleep so that your business is growing with or without your effort, right? There was one, ceramics and art. Ceramics and art isn't just ceramics and art. It's how we find joy and express ourselves in the world. It's a sense of individuality, but also collective well-being and communal well-being, right? So always remember, there needs to be a reason to buy from you first. Always provide that. And then you have to be excellent at it. If you're not excellent, if you don't have a good business or good business process, then nothing you do on social media is going to work, right? I was recently at a restaurant. I'm not going to name who because I'm not going to throw them under the bus, but it was a really unfortunate experience from beginning to end. The restaurant had been hyped up on social media. I especially loved like the photography that they were posting, but the service was really slow. And then the food turned out to be a little bland. And I just thought, like, no amount of social media can save this if you don't have excellent processes. And the other thing that I want you to know, especially right now, is that lead time for sales via social media is slower than it's ever been in history, in most of modern social media marketing history, because of advertiser fatigue. Ad fatigue is the concept that consumers right now are inundated with ads. And let me know, please let me know, put it in the chat. If you haven't learned, I'm huge on using the chat in my talks. Does anybody else feel inundated with ads? That there's advertising everywhere all the time? Anybody feel like that? I always think it's just me because I'm a digital marketer and I'm exposed to a lot of extra marketing. Okay, so some other people do too. Yeah, our consumers are feeling that as well. And that's why sales are a little bit slower than normal. But we're going to talk about how to manage that and what that really looks like. Your consumers, from a social media marketing perspective, they kind of go through three phases. And we're going to talk about the marketing funnel. The marketers in the room will absolutely know what I'm talking about. But generally, we know consumers go from lurking to engaging to then being open to the sale. Lurking is the longest and largest phase, where consumers are just doing their own thing on social media. They're interacting with their friends. They then discover there's a need, want, problem, or nuisance in their life. They then go, okay, maybe I need something. They start engaging, and it's not until after they've engaged, typically, that they start to become open to the sale. So remember that there's that three-phase process, and the biggest part of that process, the lurking phase, we have no way of measuring, we have no way of tracking, we have no way of knowing it's happening because they're lurking. That said, that part of engaging in sales, that part is relatively simple. Have consistent and diverse posting and engaging habits. share your entry points. We're going to talk about what that means in a second. Foster those relationships. And this is the biggest one, ask for the sale. Ask for what you want, and then document it. Because, and we're going to wrap up today with this, if you don't document it, if I kind of subscribe to, this comes from psychology, if you don't measure it, it doesn't exist. One of the biggest problems I see with businesses when I work with them, when they say like, Tim, why am I not getting sales from social media? I say, well, you're not even measuring it. So you have no way of knowing when it does happen. So something I mentioned here was entry points. Basically, an entry point is any like one thing that acts as a hook that gets people interested in your business and then encourages them to buy. So let me use my friends at Durham Region Business Center. Okay, so you have the business center and they provide business advisory services. So the service they provide is an entry point. That means a want. They'll help you grow your business, scale your business, change your business. But then they also have really cool people. So you might say, okay, yeah, that's nice that they offer that service. But then they do a post on our good friend Patrice, who I'm a huge fan of, and you go, oh, that's a really interesting person. I want to go work with them. That was an entry point. Another entry point might be their location. And maybe they have parking, because you looked at 3 other business centers and they have no parking. I hail from Guelph. Our business center does not have parking. The parking situation in Guelph is rough, to say the least. Parking might be an entry point. An entry point is anything that gets consumers interested and makes them go, oh, that is something I find that is good enough for me. That's what makes me want to do business with that business. So some other examples here, just some hypothetical ones, but you find out a staff member has a unique turtle collection and you're like, oh, I'm really into turtles too. Or you share that, aside from running your business, you build model trains. Or this is a classic one because this is just good content. But if you have an office or a business mascot, pets make great content. There's actually my go-to content topics because human psychology, they appeal to us. Smiling faces, babies, animals, baby animals. Those will always do well. It's why your selfies will always outperform, for example, your stock photos. So that's smiling faces, babies, animals, baby animals. If you can get a smiling baby animal, you win the internet. You win social media marketing. So those are entry points to get people interested in your business and to move from lurking to engaging and hopefully towards a sale. The other thing to keep in mind is this concept in marketing of the sales funnel or the marketing funnel. It's a simple way of explaining common behaviors or what people do and go through in order to make a purchase. Now, this is kind of theoretical. There's a million different ways of looking at it. I like to go with this kind of 4-stage model because it explains the bulk of behaviors that consumers demonstrate. So first is they go through awareness stage. So this is when they become aware of a want, need, problem, or nuisance, and then they start, looking for businesses, and businesses can meet them there, right? So this involves doing things to get consumers' attention about your offerings, about what your products or services, or who you are. Then they move to consideration. This is where we provide opportunities for consumers to think about and decide on their purchase, to weigh their options. And please note, this all kind of sounds high level. I swear this applies to something as simple as buying a bottle of pop to buying real estate. Like, it works at all scales. Generally speaking, the smaller the price point, the faster this whole process is. The larger the price point, the longer this is. And if you offer services or products to other businesses, you're B2B, this is also generally a longer process. But you have consideration, then you move to purchase, and that's what we're really focused on today. That is the actual making of the purchase. And then you have relationship building. Some people call it loyalty. I think that is a weird power dynamic that only goes one way. I think you got to build a relationship with people. So that's where you create an experience that encourages consumers to buy. So for example, how this works for 2 different scales. Today, I'm working in Fergus. I have a couple clients that I'm seeing later today in Fergus. And Across the street from me, diagonally and straight across, I have a Tim Hortons and I have a local coffee shop. So I don't know about y'all, but I love coffee. Let me know where my other coffee lovers are in the room. Um, I got Tim's the first thing this morning, but okay, there's a few of us. Thank you. So I know I need more coffee because this doesn't happen without caffeine. I have to make a decision. Do I go to Tim Hortons or do I go to The Vault is the name of the other company. Okay, so I know they both exist and now I'm considering my options. Do I want it fast? Do I want something delicious? Once I make my decision and I weigh my options, I might look up on social media like, hey, does The Vault have anything special today? Does Tim Hortons have anything special today? And then I'm gonna go. I'm probably going to go to the Vault. I love the Vault and always support local, always support local. And every time I'm at the Vault, I always have a good time because their staff are super friendly. That's a way of building that relationship where they're friendly, they're kind. I love interacting with them. So even this whole process applies to something like getting as simple as getting a cup of coffee. In social media, we want to encourage these things to happen. As businesses, we want to focus on how do we encourage this? So how do we get in front of people, not with static ads, which I think Catherine had made a comment about, just boring static ads. How do we get people to consider our products or services? How do we actually get them to purchase? And then how do we build that relationship? This is all kind of high levels right now, but let's actually make it practical. From a business perspective, and please note, you don't have to memorize any of this. You will have access, I believe you'll have access to the slide deck later on, but there's different things that we as businesses can do to make this happen. So to get people's awareness that we exist, this involves posting, this involves running ads. And I will say, I do think running ads and paid social media should for the most part be a part of every business because organic reach, that's the number of people you reach just by posting. Organic reach is at an all-time low in social media history. Posts are not reaching as many people as they used to. So running ads is a part of that. Following and engaging with other accounts, because remember, you don't just walk into a room, talk about yourself for 10 minutes, and then walk out. Right? That's not how you become popular. That's very selfish. That's very self-centered. You have to engage with people. And actually, one of my secret weapons to get more followers, to get more sales, is just interact with other accounts. Great way to build awareness, consideration, and actually build a relationship if you're in a higher trust business or have a higher price point, product or service. Engaging with people. And sometimes this involves testing new platforms. Then we get to consideration. We want people to actively consider buying from us. Well, again, posting and what you post at this point will really weigh on that. Blog writing, if you're hopefully you're tying in a blog. I mean, blogs have a time and a place and some very specific uses, but I'm a huge fan of blog writing. I think it's a fantastic cornerstone in digital marketing. You can also be direct messaging accounts and responding to your direct messages. Then when it comes to making the actual purchase, this means running targeted ads. One of my golden rules, and if this doesn't make a lot of sense, be sure to ask, during question time or at the end. But when you run ads, you can put in your own original targeting parameters. When it comes to conversions, when we actually want sales, I say don't do that. Do custom audiences with people who are familiar with your business. So that's what I mean by targeted ads, using custom audiences, maybe lookalike audiences, but making sure it's targeted towards people who are familiar with you. Or quite simply, posting links to the specific purchase pages is a really big one. That's it. I'm going to pause here because I'm seeing Patrice's hand-raising emoji.
Yeah, just to highlight that there is a question in the chat, and it's from Sue. Blogs, are they to be audio, editorial, or videos?
Oh, do you have 10 hours to unpack that question? Okay. I'm gonna give my answer, and this is like if I could have my cake and eat it too, if I could have all of it under the sun, here's what I would do for blogs. I would start it as a long form of writing. And then I would also embed a video so that there's a video component. This is also great to link to a YouTube page to cross promote a YouTube page if you have it. And then use it as a script or a launch pad to repurpose for other content. I come from the school of thought in content marketing that everything should be repurposed. Don't create anything unless you're using it and reusing it in different ways. Blogs are long content, and then it can be the basis for so many different social media posts. It can be the basis of a podcast, the basis of a video. Use it and reuse it all. But when it comes to like what you would actually post on your website, I'd make it long form text and an embedded video to go with it. And thank you so much for catching that, Patrice. I totally missed that question. So
Yeah,
thank you.
and somebody also added onto it, Huda. I hope I said that right. Curious about your thoughts on mailing lists versus blogs.
Let's start here. Especially in digital marketing, I hate the word versus. We are all on the same team. We are team your business. But this is also a super Gemini thing. Like, I don't like either or. I'm like, I want my cake and I want to eat it too. I say both. The other reason why I say both, though, is because they serve very different functions. Email marketing is a great place to sell because it's very one way. It shouldn't be terribly frequent, 1 to 2 times a month max, because there's too much email marketing going on in the world and consumers are becoming disengaged from it. Whereas blogs, I would argue, can do so much more. They can sell and they can provide information and they can be a conduit to other places. So I would have my cake and eat it too. I would do mailing lists and blogs. And then, Huda, I'm going to tackle this last question and then we're going to move on from this. How often would you recommend blogging? It depends on the age and stage of your business. If your business is, and more specifically, actually, your website is 0 to 1 years old, twice a month. If you have capacity for 3 times a month, do it. Because blogging is a great way to dramatically change your SEO, as long as you're following, the new recommended guidelines and practices. So more frequently at the beginning of your business and at the beginning of your website, and then slow it down to. And then, once you're in a maintenance stage and your website's getting good traffic, and then I would say about once a month, twice a month if you can, if you have a lot of content, but then once a month, I would say. Yeah, great question. Okay, moving on. So you have the purchase and then relationship building in social media for the most part. Digital marketing generally, because email marketing is really good for building relationships. If you can segment your audience to customers, people who have purchased, clients, and then everybody else, that really helps. You can create groups, most notably on LinkedIn and Facebook, just for customers, just for clients, or offering exclusives to your current clients, to customers, and talking about it on social media. The basis of how that works is FOMO, that fear of missing out, where I go like, oh, hold on. I noticed that if I become a client of, and I'm totally making this up, Patrice, please let me know if it's like a thing, but like, oh, if I work with the Business Center in Durham, I also get like free monthly networking. I want free monthly networking on top of like business support. And they post about it. It's like, oh, well, I want that perk. That's why we talk about exclusive perks for clients and customers on social media. A great example of companies who do this, cell phone companies do this. There's a reason that they will actually run ads and do TV commercials for anybody who sees those saying like, and I think of Virgin who does this a lot, going, members get these perks. And you're like, oh, I do want those perks. And that's why we talk about perks on social media publicly for everybody. A note on the funnel. Ideally, we want to move people through it. A common reason sales don't happen on social media is we jump straight to the ask. We go right for the sale. We go right for the jugular, especially without, at that point, you would have had awareness, but you haven't really built consideration. You may not have rapport, and you may not understand what the want, need, problem, or nuisance that you're meeting that consumer at in your sales process. So be careful jumping to the sale and being too aggressive with the sale. That said, I don't find small business owners struggle with being too aggressive. If anything, I'd say we can step it up usually a little more. And I want you to honor and respect that it's a journey. Give people an opportunity to consider you. Also because of ad fatigue. Consumers are a little bit slower to buying these days. So to kind of unite this phrase, and also because I've been talking a lot and I want to create space for questions and get some feedback, something we talked about that's cool for awareness and building consideration and actually causing a purchase is an entry point. That's that hook or piece of content that goes, hey, I'm really interested in working with the business owner because that person, Patrice, looks really cool. What do you think is an entry point that you could use in your business? I'd love your thoughts. Like, hey, when you think about your business, what's an entry point for you? While you put that in the chat, I see this question here from Denise. Do you have an opinion on using a closed system like Mighty Networks versus a Facebook group? I do have a thought, actually. I have two thoughts. One, I'm not an expert. I'm not even well versed in using like closed systems or websites for groups. So one, I have a bias against it because I'm not super familiar with it. Two, though, the reason why I love a social media group, and actually more specifically a Facebook groups have more engagement than LinkedIn groups, is because that's where people are. The basis of how all social media marketing works, it works on the premise that we are on social media. And so if we're already there, we're tapping into where people already are and what they're familiar with. Getting them to learn a new channel, a new platform, can cause some friction and cause people to slow down and maybe not buy as much. An example, and please tell me if anyone else finds this like relatable, but lately all of like I teach at York University, so at York, and then I work with now Boundless Accelerator out of Guelph, and in my own company, I'm having to get Microsoft Teams and Slack and WhatsApp and I'm like, oh my God, I have to learn all this tech, I have to integrate all of this, right? And that kind of slows me down. That's why I much prefer social media. It's all in one place that we're familiar with. I hope that answers your question. Entry points here is free and gated content. Yeah, access to varying levels of content with expertise. And what that content is a cool entry point. The ability for free estimates. Yep, talking the struggles. Identifying, Catherine has shared like specific struggles. Like, do you struggle with paperwork? Do you struggle with receipts? I don't know a single business owner who doesn't struggle with receipts. Receipts are the bane of my existence. Please, anyone let me know if that's relatable, but receipts. Behind the scenes in workspace. That is actually a really popular entry point. Show behind the scenes. That's how Snapchat got as big as it did with and through business and for businesses, was showing behind the scenes. And we learned that customers love and consumers love seeing behind the scenes. Yeah, these are great. These are great examples. Thank you. Something that's relatable. Yeah, that's why, like, if you follow me on social media, which, hey, I think I'm worth your follow at Tim Campbell SMS. I try to focus on my humor, right? So whenever I walk into a room of digital marketers, I'm like, am I the loudest, most obnoxious person here? And usually the answer is yes. And I'm like, I'm going to lean into that on my social media. That's my entry point. Yeah, no, Amy, that's fair. Some businesses you can't share behind the scenes. So find other entry points that work for you. So something that lends itself well to entry points is content. Because entry points are often things we post. So let's talk about some content strategies. One of the most I would say used and abused pieces of advice in digital marketing, and I'm going to explain why this works and how this works, is to post consistently. Here's why posting consistently is so helpful. One, it helps stay top of mind so that you can get into the newsfeed of consumers. We also do this frequently because organic reach is at an all-time low. So the more you're creating those opportunities, the more likely you are to get discovered. So we also want to help with providing and testing new entry points. Sometimes you might think you know what's popular or what's working for you, and you might find something else works. I recently had a food client. We thought the novelty of the product was appealing enough, and it wasn't until we did polls on Instagram and LinkedIn about what people liked about the product, and we did some fancy SEO tricks. And if you want to know what these tricks are, ask me at the end and I'll tell you. And we actually found that the biggest entry point for the business and what was causing the most people to buy was that the product was vegan and gluten-free, which we just overlooked. We didn't think people really cared about that. We didn't think it was a special feature. Oh, no. And then when I went to do research, I was like, oh, that's right. More and more younger consumers are diet conscious. So, oh, that makes more sense, right? Helps us discover new entry points. And some platforms reward frequent posters. I will say, I have some spicy feelings about X, formerly Twitter. One cool thing they did, and one very cool thing we learned, they made their algorithm open source. Anybody can read it. Now, they use a lot of code words. You don't know what things are referring to. But something we learned was that Twitter actually X, formerly Twitter, rewards what they call power tweeters, people who tweet regularly. We know TikTok does this as well. Pinterest does this as well. Some platforms reward frequent posters. So posting more often provides more entry points, provides other opportunities that we can get into, so that we can get in front of people. We also want to focus on posting content that consumers love. And recall, what have we already talked about? Smiling faces, babies, animals, baby animals. With that, in your content, remember to ask for the sale as well. I love my clients who provide services. I find the service-based businesses are not as good at this as the product-based businesses, but remember to actually ask for the sale once in a while, especially service-based businesses. And I know there's a bunch on the call today, tend to provide a lot of value and a lot of advice. And I'm seeing a lot of value and advice even here in the chat. Remember to actually ask for the sale. When you post, say, hey, you should work with me. And then learn from your best content through your analytics. Learn what was the best content that got engagement, that got clicks, and that got sales. With that, the other thing when it comes to content that I want to say is write content that is uniquely specific to your business. The exercise I actually get my students to do when I teach at York, and I think this is good for everybody across the board, you should be able to write a caption, write a sales post trying to pitch your product or your service, but that only appeals to your demographic and nobody else. We should be able to read your sales post and go and know exactly who it's for and why it benefits them. So one example is say you're a financial advisor and you specialize in working with high net worth individuals. You would talk about what to do with a large payout or what to do with a large sum of money. And you wouldn't talk about just like, what are the benefits of saving money, right? Because that is uniquely specific to that group. If you're a fitness instructor for older adults, you would talk about movement for the aging over 50 body and not for young folks who are starting to move for the first time. Make your content uniquely specific to your business and your audience and nobody else. Then with your analytics, always learn from your analytics. All platforms display analytics on top posts. Every single one of them. You can find out what your top posts are. The skill is to go look at those top posts and go, okay, what do these have in common? This is a sample from my Pinterest and from my Instagram. And what I noticed they all have in common, the top posts, is they all involve people. And the secret, and this is the skill that you kind of have to work on, is it can be any creative element. So identifying any creative element. So I also noticed that my top posts, and especially with people, they're all colorful. They all have color. So while one photo was black and white, all the others are color. So I should focus on color photos that have people's faces. Learn from what's common among them and replicate that success. That's it. I like to compare social media to a party. If you were to go to a party, yes, even the introverts on the call today, if you go to a party and you wanted to be the most popular person at the party, how would you do it? You probably wouldn't walk in, talk about yourself for 10 minutes, and then walk out. That's the equivalent of just posting. We call it posting and ghosting, where you post and then you don't engage with anyone. You have to engage as well. You have to interact with people. Engagement focuses on following new accounts, commenting on posts, DMing, and messaging others. Actually, let me, because I feel like I've been talking a lot, here's a pop quiz question. This is the go-to list for engaging with accounts: following, commenting, and direct messaging. Does anyone recognize something that's not on this list when it comes to engagement? What have I not included on this list? It's a common thing people may do when they think they're engaging. What's not on this list? Commenting on stories would be DMing. That's a form of direct messages. Hold on, Isabel was the first one to get it. Liking a post. It does not include liking a post. Likes are too easy to manipulate. We tend to get lots, even with new accounts. They don't really bring attention to us, so it does not include likes. I'm here to encourage you to like posts, or to discourage you from liking posts, because it's too easy to manipulate. Focus on following, commenting, and DMing. I do want to tackle, Brent made a cool comment, and I want to piggyback off this. It also doesn't include saving and sharing. The only reason why it doesn't include saving and sharing in this definition is because the person who posted the content will rarely, I think Pinterest is the only one where you could find out, but on every other platform, you don't know who saved and shared. So for us as businesses, there isn't like a reciprocal effect. People wouldn't find out that it was us who saved it or shared it, unless we tag them in the post when we share it. So that's why saving and sharing isn't included as well. But the big thing I'm trying to discourage you from focusing on is liking posts. Liking posts does not count as engagement strategies. Please note, engagement is a never-ending task. If ever, and this is going to sound hilarious, but if ever you have some free time, that's funny, entrepreneurs with free time. If ever you have some time and you don't know what you could be doing or what you should be doing with your digital marketing, engage. Go engage. It gets your name out there. You're building a relationship. The more you have a relationship, the more likely you are able to make an ask for the sale and actually have a sale. Emphasis should be on comments and DMs, and following others too. So both are, and I know I'm kind of doing this as like an either or, both are important, but I want to just ask in the room. After we've now talked about posting, we've now talked about engagement, which do you think you're more likely to focus on? Once you get off this webinar, are you going to focus on engagement or are you going to focus on posting? Engagement strategies, content, engagement. I'm going to say personally, my posting frequency is down. I'm personally focusing on posting. I'm in a season where I need to post a little more often. Engagement, engaging, posting first, engaging second. Yeah. Oh, Sarah, I love that. And I love that approach. Post first, engage second. Love it. It's a both and, it's a process. Yeah, excellent. Easier to engage, more engagement and consistent posting. Awesome. Okay. A lot more posting. Yeah, and there's seasons. I've always said there's seasons in your business. You'll go through seasons where you are on top of posting. You are posting all the time and you are on your A game. And then the season I'm in right now is I'm doing great for engagement, hardly posting. Oh, so I could post a little more. Yeah. Soft sells and hard sells. Let's talk about these. Soft sell is a friendly interaction where there isn't an explicit action, but there is a potential mention of what you do in relation to the consumer. This typically relies on inbound marketing and sales. A hard sell is a blunt and direct ask to work with someone. Generally, people, I think, kind of get that straight, gaily forward. The general rule is to default to a soft sell in all things and only go for the hard sell when you have any evidence or proof. As a digital marketer, I'm a big data nerd. So I go, what evidence, what proof, what stats, what data do you have that shows that a person is inclined to say yes and to buy from you? I got this sales message. And this is why I love talking about sales, because I got this recently and I'm like, I'm going to use this in this talk. I got this sales message and it came from LinkedIn. It came out of nowhere, had no context. I don't even really know this person from a hole in the wall. I think we were part of a similar LinkedIn networking group years ago. And that's where this came from. So this person said, "Hi, Tim, hope you're doing well. From social media, it looks like you're doing great. I want to see if we can get you on a saving path. Number of clients in their late 20s, early 30s, who I'm doing these things with. I'd like to see if we can do the same for you." Don't know this person from a hole in the wall. Also, if they had gotten to know me at all, they'd know that I have a financial advisor. They know that I'm very happy with my financial advisor, and savings isn't my only goal. So this person chose an entry point, went for a hard sell with no evidence, no inclination that I would ever say yes. So this is what we kind of want to watch out for. We might also offer something called lead magnets. Now, please note, this is going to work a lot better for our service-based businesses. It can work for products. Usually, though, if your product requires explanation on how to use actually, I would say almost any product you could explain how to use, how to optimize. I'm thinking of, I forget the person's name. There's a person on this call with cosmetics and like body products. So you could explain, so like, I'm going to be honest, I don't know what a body butter does. If you've got a download, like Alyssa, thank you. If you've got a PDF or a download on what a body butter is or like how to use it, I give you express permission, please email it to me. I would read the heck out of that. That's a lead magnet. So a lead magnet is something that attracts people to become a lead or a prospect. It's the first in a series of steps for interactions to converting someone, usually distinct and special. And please note, it's got to be undeniably special. I'm going to pick on, I don't think there's any realtors in the room. If there are, I'm sorry. I'm going to pick on the realtors for a second. If I see one more first-time home buyer's guide, I'm going to scream. There are so many first-time home buyers guides. That idea has been used and abused. It's not special anymore. Try something else. But otherwise, it's just a download, and it's usually a PDF. It's usually something you can download, a document that teaches on something. Recipes, how-tos, best practices is something you'd put into a lead magnet. So I want to ask, does anybody have any ideas like, what would you put in a lead magnet? If you could create a PDF that taught something on a topic, what would you put in your lead magnet? I'm going to say, pitch me your businesses via lead magnet in the chat. Oh, Brent, I love that idea. Top things to do in a city, that's overused. But top things to do in a city in the winter, I love that. Yeah. Catherine, how to keep receipts organized. Again, take my email, take my money, give me that download. Because right now they're just in a big old, they're in a big old envelope. Change it each season. When do you need a client relation management system and how to set one up? Yes. Scientific ingredients in products. Yeah. Debunking science. I went down a TikTok rabbit hole recently of science anxiety and math anxiety and how people are scared of stats, math, and science. Debunking that would be so cool. How to care for poinsettias. I want that download too. Yes. Recipes that go along with dishes you can create in the pottery class. You know why I love that idea is it's not obvious. I've never heard that before. Have worked with a couple like pottery like businesses. I've never heard that before. I love that because it's so different. Buy now or buy later, pre-construction or ready move in. These are great. Y'all are a really smart group. Money date night conversation starters. Oh, these are fabulous. Yes, these are all terrific and fabulous examples of lead magnets you could create in a PDF. Now, you got to measure it. All of this is for naught. Everything we've talked about, posting your links to your direct sales pages and engaging in relationships and posting consistently, none of this matters if you don't measure it. If you don't measure it, it doesn't exist. Because also, if you don't measure it, you can't improve upon it. Because how do you know what's working and what's not? How do you know what to improve? Lots of ways to measure. I don't know about you, but my favorite words are free and cheap. And that's why I love a good spreadsheet. I also love a good CRM. I have a couple, I'm going to try to be tech agnostic. I'm not going to mention names, but I do have a couple CRMs. And if you want to know my favorites, ask at the end. I'll give you some names. Or another easy way that you can do it is through bookkeeping programs. So every time if you're using, I don't know others, QuickBooks is the easy go-to. If anyone knows other bookkeeping programs, please let me know. I should know more than one. But if you can attribute sales, within those programs, easiest way is find however you're going to document your sales, because someone said, I don't know how to measure it. Here's how you do it. Quite simply. Okay. Oh, thank you all for the suggestions on bookkeeping. Platforms, ways. I do know them. I don't know why I didn't think of them. Find a measurement strategy. So either putting it into a spreadsheet or a document, or I don't know, off the side of your desk on a napkin. And with every single client, with every single customer, ask them, how did you hear about me? Why did you buy from me? And just document it every single time. Every single time. That's it. And then you review it. Review it if you want every month. I personally review it every quarter because it's a little, monthly is a little too frequent for me. That's too much work. Once a year is not terribly agile. So once a quarter, I look at, all the clients that I worked with in the past month, and I go, how did I get these clients? What caused them? And we're going to talk about measurement strategies in a moment. How did I get them? What can I attribute it to? And you just document it. That's it. Ask every single client, ask every single customer. If you're in e-commerce, the easy way to do this, on your checkout page, whatever platform you're on, you can always customize your checkout page. I've done this on Shopify and WordPress and through WooCommerce. You just program in a new field, make it mandatory, so someone cannot complete the purchase without filling out how did they hear about you. Because then you can pull that data and use that data there. That's it. You ask the person, how did you hear about me? Why are you buying from me? And you document it and then reflect on it. There's two styles of measuring sales. Either one works. It really comes down to your preference, I would argue. So in isolation, so you can just track how many sales come from social media, or you can do it in comparison. So comparing your social media sales versus your other sales channels. So, excuse me, you might look at, if you love networking, okay, how many sales did I get from networking? How many did I get from social media? How many did I get from social media? How much did I get just from the website, from SEO? Either one works. With that, there's then the three methods. And this is what I really want you to hold on to, is your three methods. So first is what we call single touch point attribution. That's where you measure only one thing that caused a sale. And please note, I'm going to give you examples of this, so it'll all make sense in a moment. So no matter what happened, no matter what caused that person to purchase, they went through the awareness, consideration, conversion, loyalty stages. You only give credit to one thing that caused that person to become a client or to become a customer. The second way you can do it is what we call primary or recency attribution. So you only give credit for the sale to the first or the last touch point that resulted in the sale. Or the other thing you can do, it's a little harder to track, is omni-channel attribution, where you give equal credit to everything that caused a consumer to purchase. So let's say a realtor, I'm going to use a realtor as an example here because they do, I would say, very expansive marketing compared to other businesses. Realtor pays for a bus ad. And actually, this is something that I did. Pays for a bus ad. Someone is driving and sees them, and there's an Instagram icon. So sees them, learns about that realtor, and then follows them on Instagram. After a month of following, where that realtor is posting and engaging, that realtor posts a lead magnet of a PDF of the most recent market report. So you give your email to download the PDF. And then after a year of receiving those emails about neighborhoods to move to and house prices and that kind of thing, the person contacts the realtor to help them buy. In that example, if we just went with single touch point attribution, you would only give credit to one touch point. So it might be the bus ad or Instagram or the lead magnet or the email marketing. If you went with primary touch point attribution, we would only give credit to the bus ad. We'd say the bus ad is what got us that customer. That's what we're giving credit to. So we know bus ads work. If you went with recency touch point attribution, we'd only give credit to the last email newsletter content topic. In omni-channel attribution, we'd say, okay, we think bus ads and Instagram and email marketing and content marketing work. Again, I'm actually here to say there's pros and cons to all of these. I think it's more preference than anything else. Single touch point, primary, recency, or omni-channel. So I'm going to give you an example, and I want to ask what you think each one would be. So let's say you display at a trade show, okay? You do a trade show to display your product or service. Someone meets you at the trade show. They're a professional. They connect with you on LinkedIn. You do a post, and they see that post because they're newly connected with you. And that person shares that post. And someone who saw that post contacts you. And you have a coffee meeting with them. And after that coffee meeting, they become a client. What's a single touch point we could measure there? What's maybe a single touch point that you would attribute the sale to in this case? Don't overthink it. Any single touch point. The trade show, yes, is a touch point. Meeting you, yes. What's another single touch point? The post, exactly. The post, not even being connected on LinkedIn, or the reshared post. Yeah, any of these things that have happened are touch points. What was the primary touch point in this case study? What was the primary? If we were to do primary touch point attribution, what's the primary touch point that led to the sale? The trade show. Thank you, Alyssa. If we went with the recency attribution models, the last thing that led to the purchase, what would you say is the last thing that led to the purchase? The coffee meeting. Yeah. I would also say that the post could be seen as it, especially if we're focusing on digital marketing here, social media marketing, that post would be it. But yeah, the post or the coffee meeting. And then what touch points would we measure for our omni-channel? Well, y'all have shared every single potential touch point. We would measure every single touch point, and we would give credit to the trade show, to the LinkedIn post, to the new connection, to the coffee meeting. Exactly. Use a spreadsheet or a checklist or a CRM and track your sales month over month, quarter over quarter or year over year. I recommend quarter over quarter. Patrice, I see your hand. I think I missed a question. And you're muted, my friend. We still need those shirts that say, you're muted.
I know. And anyways, no, this is my question really quickly, because I think that is great. I love it. My thing is, though, it has to be consistent. So it's a decision you make, and that's the one you do consistently. Because I think where I see clients fall in is that they will start doing, okay, I'm just going to track primary. And then all of a sudden they're like also starting to track the Omni. And so now the data becomes a little bit confusing.
Yes. Always track the same thing. I mean, measurement 101, the same thing at the same time every single time. I'll be there at 10:30. Okay, and perfect. It's about what you value. It's about what you find important. I personally, I'm going to share my value. This is not like gospel law. This is not even advice. I personally go with the recency attribution. When I do my measurement for the sales in my business, I look at the last touch point. My logic being is I usually think the last thing is what really pushed them to convert. So I do that. But I know a close friend of mine who's a digital marketer that I really look up to, she said she passionately argues the same thing, but for primary. She's like, no way. The first thing is what started the whole chain of events for conversions. That's what worked. So she argues for primary. It's totally up to you. Or like Sarah has mentioned here, I think this is a great point. You could do U-shaped attribution, first and last. That works. Whatever you choose, just make sure to choose the same thing consistently every single time. So speaking of which, and Sue, I totally see your hand. Let me ask, is there any measurement model that you think works best for you or that you're going to try in the future? Do you think you're going to try primary, recency, omni-channel, single touch point? How are you going to measure? Are you going to use a spreadsheet? Are you going to use a CRM? Are you going to use just like, what's your measurement plan after today? And I saw a question, and I'm so sorry, I have the memory of a drunk goldfish, so I don't remember who had the hand up. But if you want to put your question in the chat, Sue, thank you, Sue. If you want to share your question, put it in the chat or let us know. But I'm thinking you, me as well. Perfect. Okay. Okay. Sorry, just responding to something here. And one more blog question. Ask your blog questions. Should you have a separate platform for blogs, or is your web page okay? Yes, put your blog on your website. Blogs serve a lot of functions. Me, in my digital marketing practice, I tend to focus on blogs as an SEO driver, as a way of getting traffic from search engines. And it's got to exist on the platform that you want to drive traffic to. So your blog should be on your own website. Yeah. Sarah adding lead source. So clever. Yes. Perfect. So to recap, as we start to bring this home and we enter into Q&A, and I've already got a couple of questions that I'm holding on to until the end. Do you have a clear reason why anyone should buy, invest with, buy from you, sell, invest, whatever, do business with you and not anyone else? What makes your business undeniably special? And I'm going to be bold here. I want you to be wildly unapologetic in coming up with this. Why anyone should buy from you and not any other business. Please know, I'm all for like community over competition and that we can all work together. There's enough business for everyone. I'm also, when it comes to doing your own marketing planning, always have a bold and unapologetic reason why you are the best. 2, are you posting regularly? Are you engaging regularly? What is your engagement plan? Are you interacting with people who interact with you? When was the last time you asked for the sale? The other thing with that is remember the 80-20 principle. 80% of posts should be value add, feel good, warm and fuzzy, all of that. 20%, 1 out of every 5 posts should ask for the sale. Again, I find small business owners don't struggle with the 80%. They struggle with maintaining that 20%, 1 in 5. And how are you documenting your sales? If you don't measure it, it doesn't exist. Here's my final question before we descend into what I call controlled chaos. After today, what's something you're going to work on? What's something you're going to do to drive more sales via digital marketing in your business? Huda, I'm going to create a social media strategy. Yes, love it. I love a good plan. I love a good strategy. That's also what I do day in and day out. Yeah, I'm going to post more. Getting unstuck with posting. Please remember, your whatever you post on other places can work on Instagram as well. Especially because Instagram is such a catch-all platform, kind of like Facebook is. What you're posting on other platforms can work on Instagram. Engaging with my target audience, yes, being consistent, measuring the results, creating a plan, measure and analyze. I mean, I could learn about that all day. That's a great one, Angie. Repurposing content. Yes, finding the content that works and repurposing it. Absolutely. I'm going to say this is going to end the formal part of our chat today before we descend into just an open Q&A forum. If you're like me, you go to a webinar like this, you go to a training, and you don't think of any questions, or maybe you think of a few, but the second you leave the room, you go, oh, I forgot to ask. If you're like me and that happens to you, I've put my email in the chat. Please email me any follow-up questions from today, and I'm more than happy to clarify anything or provide additional resources or answer any other questions. Please feel free to email me. I'd also love to connect with you on social media. I'm most active on Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Tim Campbell SMS. And with that, let's just open the floor for questions based on anything we've talked about today, anything digital marketing, if you want. First question, and I've been holding on to this, and bless Catherine. Oh, wait, no, Patrice is stopping me for something. Hold on. Let's go.
I want to take this moment because I will stop the recording shortly and then we'll open it up and it's a little bit more informal. I just want to say thank you very much, Tim, on behalf of the Do It in Durham team, the organizations, BACD, the Business Advisory Center of Durham, which that's what the wonderful acronym stands for. We really want to say thank you for your expertise this morning, for sharing all this fabulous content. For our attendees, you will receive a copy of the presentation probably by Monday because it takes a little while for us to process everything. And we will be uploading a recording of this amazing presentation to our YouTube channel. So again, you'll find it under the Business Advisory Center of Durham. And if you're not already subscribed to that, feel free to subscribe so you can get notification of all the amazing content that we share up there whenever we share it. Thank you again to all of you who've attended throughout this entire week. It was an amazing week, and I'm so... I get the chills every time. It's my personal favorite time of the year just because I get to see so many of you so frequently in 1 week. What better way of connecting? And Tim, that's you as well, because I know you joining us all the way from, you said, where was it? Ferguson today?
I'm in Fergus right now, but I'm normally in Fergus.
Okay, there you go. So it's really nice that an opportunity like this presents itself. So with that, Tim, thank you so much. Thanks again to everyone. Stay online because we are going to open it up, but I am going to be stopping the recording now. So those who are joining us via the recording, join us next time live, and then you get this extra bonus. Thanks again, everyone.